Hello and welcome to an outside broadcast of Bookish Travels. Now today we're going to tackle some myths on why some people get scared off from reading historical fiction. It's all war and politics. Actually, no, it's not. Well, yes, it is, but it doesn't have to be if that's not your thing. I happen to like a bit of war and politics, but if you don't, and there are so many other things to choose from. I think sometimes when we think of historical fiction, we can sometimes go back to our school days and think of how we had to write reams of dictated notes and remember dates and people's names and events and things. And it was totally dry. I remember from my history classes, we have a selection of spy thrillers, romances. And if you don't like kings and queens and all those battles and whatnot, why don't you try and look for a book that talks about an ordinary person? It could be an artist, it could be a musician, it could be a scientist, it could be a nun, a criminal, a spy. So once you start delving into this, the second one is that you need to know about history before you start reading it. No, you really don't. If you find an author that you like or writes really well, then they will teach you as you go along in the story. They kind of hold your hand and kind of take you through the story with them, explaining things and not expecting you to know any background knowledge. I think that's a good mark of an author sometimes, that if you're completely new to whatever you're reading, then you can follow the story with no problems and come out the end of it really enjoying it. And perhaps it feeds your knowledge and you want to go and read more about it. I think there is a fear that you're I think sometimes there's a fear I think sometimes there's a fear that you will get lost in it with the dates, with the figures. Another one is you need to know about history before you start delving into this genre. And it's really not true at all. I think some people feel they'll get lost in it and they won't understand what's going on, or they get too caught up in names or dates. I think it shows a good author who can write and teach you as you are reading, especially if it's a historical fiction book. Non-fiction applies too, but if you're reading a story and you come out the end of it thinking, I've learned a lot there actually, and it kind of sparks your interest, then I think that's really awesome. They kind of feed you as you read and ply you with just the right amount of information for that story. Some of these amazing books have maps, gorgeous maps at the beginning. Sometimes they have family trees, sometimes they have a list of characters which go through all the characters in the book and how they pertain to the story, and whether such and such is related to this one or whatever, which I think is great, because then you can stop reading. If you think, who's this? And you can go back to the front, check it out and go, yes, I remember. Some have glossaries, and some actually have book club notes at the back. If you're not a member of the book club, I think they're great questions, because then you can sort of read them and answer them for yourself. And if you really enjoy immersing yourself into the story or this particular era, you have opened up a whole new world of research and exploration. I have a few book suggestions. I've got The Book Thief, which is emotionally driven and accessible. The Other Berlin Girl takes you through everything through great dialogue and drama. It's for older readers. You have to be a bit of a fuddy-duddy, and that's not true either. It's not true that you have to be a history buff either, because historical fiction actually comes in all ages, from kids' books all the way up to sort of great literary masters. There's YA to new adult, and it even crosses over into fantasy. So if you're a fantasy reader anyway, then that's a good stepping stone. There are quite a few older historical fiction novels written by authors from the past, but there are so many more others as well, new and modern authors. If you like to read, uh, modern books and modern authors. So Fable, I think, is a great one for fantasy lovers. Salt to Sea is a YA book about World War II. Letters from a Lighthouse, which is an adventure book. Mysteries in it that involves some evacuees and evacuations. Historical fiction is all the same. No, that's another myth. Some people try to read historical fiction, don't like what they've chosen, and think it's all the same. It's such a huge genre, and there's a plethora of choice. I mean, yes, you can get the overly long sagas, and if you're into that, great. If you're not into that, then there's definitely a lot more choice apart from that. You can pick lighter versions and different topics. There's a book called The House with the Golden Door, and it is about Pompeii. It's a romance, I think, set in Pompeii. There is The Silent Companions, which is a gothic kind of Victorian horror. And we have The Essex Serpent, which is a bit more literary and has some folklore in it. Now, before I go, I'm just going to mention one last one, and that it is too slow. Historical fiction is just too slow. Not if you don't want it to be. Yes, there are some authors that write thousands of pages just on scenery. They focus a lot on subplots or backplots, and they tend to seem to take forever to actually get into the story. You're sort of like page 200 before it actually really gets going. Yes, there are some books like that, but again, there are some that are not. So my suggestion for you is to try and find one that is more character driven. Yes, it's all trial and error. Yes, if you've read historical fiction and tried all different eras, genres, authors, time periods, and you still don't like it, then perhaps historical fiction is not for you. But my aim with these videos is to share the love I have for historical fiction, try and help some people if they want to get into historical fiction. Along the way, perhaps we'll all find some new books that we just want to read. Thank you so much for watching. If you like what you saw, please do come back for more. And if you like these type of videos, do let me know, and I can perhaps do something similar. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you and you very soon in my next one. Bye.